Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show, everyone. We are the longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Today on the show, in the first part, we're going to real quick just go over everything Apple. There was, of course, the spring event that happened with Apple. It's where they did a couple product refreshes, some updates, letting everyone know, the latest iOS, what's going to be included, and also some product refreshes that, for Apple and their, for the longest time, like their phones and their computers were all silver, space gray, black. They were, high gloss. They were metallic. Apple's really showing off that, hey, much like spring and flowers and all that good stuff, well, they have colors as well. So everyone, you're going to want to check that out in the first part of the show. Second part, we have general computer and technology news, but of course, we're going to dedicate as much time as we need to get through the Apple announcements. So if you didn't catch that, then hey, we got your back. It's going to be okay, everyone. It's going to be okay. So I think that for our first story, before we do that, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, all the shows. And yeah, you can enjoy everything that we do there, as well as links to social media. And there we go. Again, computeramerica.com. And also, if you can't listen to us live on IRN, you can always catch the podcast. And that is the second best way to listen. But the first best way would be obviously IRN. And hey, we also have a video portion over at twitch.tv/Computer America. Now, morning announcements done. Let's go ahead and get this whole thing going. So everyone, computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Okay, let's go ahead and get things started with story number one. And I think this is probably one of the best things that they've done for quite a while now, because I remember some of the old, the iMacs, and obviously the iMac Pros might, still be a little bit different, but the iMacs, these things actually look very, very cool. And you can see them up there on the video portion. If you can't, they always had this bulge kind of coming out of the back of the computer that was obviously needed for graphics card, for fans and things like that. It's that bulge had obviously decreased over time, and it had gotten better and better and better. I think now they have it pretty darn good where, just a little bit bigger than a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack that you can see there on the side that's, kind of facing, is the entire width of the screen, top to bottom. No more back bulge, no more bottom bulge. It is all simply housed in a very sleek design. This whole thing is probably only, like the 24-inch model. 24-inch, and you're looking at a width of probably like maybe 5 millimeters. It is incredibly thin. And of course, sporting these new Macs, you of course have the M1 chip. And this, according to DaVinci Hardware, also mentioning that M1 chip is finally making its way into iMacs, along with a slew of other long-awaited updates. And they have a photo gallery here that you can see, that we can, kind of scroll through as we go. But they're saying that the latest batch of iMacs finally brings color back into the desktop computers with an array of pastel colors. You can see there on the screen, you have kind of like a forest green, yellow, orange, red, purple, blue, and of course your classic silver. They say that they start with a 24-inch model, which Apple says is only slightly larger than the previous 21-inch PC. The sleek new design has far slimmer bezels than on their 4.5K Retina displays, as well as a complete flat rear case. It's no more iMac hump, as I was saying, and a much more modern-looking all-in-one PC. And I gotta say, it is definitely much more modern-looking, but still clearly an iMac. And if anything, it really fits with Apple's design philosophy, which is if you don't know what you're going to do next, take something away. And luckily, this time they decided to take away that unsightly bulge at the bottom. Now, as for other upgrades, the new iMacs features a 1080p Facetime camera, so the front-facing camera generally was 720p, but now the front-facing camera is, of course, 1080p. They'll be able to work together with the M1 processor to handle white balance, noise reduction, and exposure settings, meaning that your webcam should have much better intuitive lighting, let's say that you're facing the outdoors in your background, or, your face would be much darker than it would be. Well, Apple has it covered. It would be able to identify that, this is your face, this is what should take priority, and adjust the exposure properly. Now, they said that there's also 3 microphones that can use beamforming to reduce background noise, as well as a larger speaker setup, including 2 bass units and a smaller tweeter. So this thing, even though it's much smaller, should have decent sound. I'm not saying it's going to have perfect sound, but at least better. And of course, you can always have headphones or a standalone speaker if you really want something, actually good. Now, the iMac is definitely a solid design upgrade over the batch, which haven't changed much since their 2012 unibody revamp. But it's a bit disappointing that Apple didn't push those screen bezels even further away. The chin below the screen, for example, seems unsightly in 2021, which, you can see that there. The screen does not go all the way down to the bottom. The screen goes down, there's probably about like a 2 or 3 inch bezel all the way to the bottom, and there's still I would say a 1/2 inch bezel, which whenever you look at TVs, I think, which is what you would compare this kind of display to, or even cell phones, the amount of bezel on these devices is usually razor thin, and these things still look a little bit just a little bit dated, but the color does help, of course. So, of course, and Engadget continues, the real reason you'd want the new iMac is the M1 chip, which, of course, is the new silicon that, if I recall, has not been in any iMacs before. It's been in their phones, and they brought it to a number of their other devices, like their Mac Pro, but not their iMacs. This is the first time. They mentioned that, Apple Silicon offered a significant performance boost over Intel's in previous tests. It'll be interesting to see how well it performs in a much larger machine where you don't need to worry about power consumption, which is the reason why it was in MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros before this. Another benefit, a lot less heat and noise. Apple says that their iMacs are 50% quieter than the last model, thanks to a pair of smaller fans. But of course, smaller fans could also mean less heat dissipation. We'll definitely have to wait and see. Apple's also offering new Magic Keyboards to go alongside the computers, but I think one of the big things with the new keyboards is, of course, it will have Touch ID. You may remember that when you still had a home button with your old iPhones, and honestly, I was actually a pretty big fan of the Touch ID. It worked very well for me for the longest time. So to see that they're bringing that into computers, I can imagine a lot of people not having to worry about passwords if they can just use their Touch ID to input their passwords. So they said that, with that being said, that's for higher end iMacs, and they mentioned that this is first for Apple's all-in-one lineup. And as you can see on the screen there, the keyboard, pretty much what you would assume, except with colorful everything that isn't the keys. And then the mice, the Magic Mice, which I've never really been a fan of, but there they are, all in different colors as well. You can get these things, in many, many, many different colors. So with that being said, it looks pretty good. I like the new colors. The display, I'd have to see it in person. I'm sure that it's an upgrade, but overall, just general improvements, and that's what you definitely want to see. They said that the new 24-inch iMac is available for order on April 20th, so today, starting at $1,300 for a 7-core GPU. And they said that the more powerful 8-core GPU stands at about $1,500, and that pricier model also includes USB 3 ports in addition to the base model's 2 Thunderbolt ports and an Ethernet jack. So pretty light on the connectivity in the ports. You can see here, if I can finally pull it up, on the back you have USB-C, USB-C, Thunderbolt, and then of course you can get a USB 3.0 or 3.1 if you want it with the more expensive one. Obviously Apple is counting more and more on wireless, but they still have Thunderbolt. They're still pushing that, and overall seems like pretty moderate updates. Let's see. So with that being said, everything does look pretty good, and needs just a little bit of work. I don't know what they're waiting on. I think next year they're supposed to be transitioning away from Lightning connectors back to USB 3.1s. I think that might be a good time to really jump into Apple, but at least for their iMacs, they did receive a product update. So with that being said, let's go ahead and continue on with Apple news. This will be an all Apple kind of day. And let's see, I think from there we have we have this story, which is of course just talking again about the Apple Touch. The Apple Touch will be, they said the iMac bundles, which include the keyboards with Touch ID, runs about $1,500 and $1,700. And this again will be not on the base model, but on the higher end bundles. So we'll throw that story in there as well. Okay, so there's that, and I think from there, I like that they focus on the hardware. Definitely important to do that, and I'm glad that they did. Apple is bringing M1, and this is totally expected, but still great to confirm. Apple's new iPad Pro has an M1 chip, Thunderbolt, and 5G support. Not bad. Saying that, the exterior of the iPads are going to look very similar to what we've seen in previous iterations. And you can see them there on the video portion, but they also have, mounts and, things like that. But here we go. One of the biggest changes on display this year was Apple's choice of display. This year, the company went back to, went with what it calls a liquid retina XDR panel, complete with a new mini LED backlighting system. Because each lighting element is much smaller than what you find in a typical LCD panel, which mini LEDs, that's typically what it means. They're a fraction of the size of traditional LED. They say that Apple could pack more of them behind each square inch of the display. And they said that's about 10,000 LEDs total for a typical, 11-inch or I should say like a 9-inch iPad. Very, very tiny. And they said that means more tightly controlled lighting for specific parts of the screen for much improved contrast and significantly higher brightness overall. And they said that unfortunately the rumors were true. The new screen tech seems to be exclusive to Apple's biggest iPad, at least for now. So the smaller iPads, I think their different series are like, I want to say like 11 inch and 13 inch or something like that. 11 inch and 12.9 inch. So the 12.9 inch will have the improved screen, and the 11 inch will have a more traditional display. With all that said, if there's one standout about this year's iPad Pros, it's the Apple Silicon M1 chipset. Both new models pack the very same processor found in the company's most recent MacBook Airs and Pro models, and that's by design. It's much easier and much more economical to make 10,000 of one thing as opposed to 5,000 of four things, at least as far as manufacturing goes. So it's going to be very capable. If it can handle an iPhone, if it can handle a full-blown laptop, then you can be sure it's going to handle a tablet. The company's pro-level iPads have always been the most powerful tablets in its stable, but the release of the 2020 iPad Air gave that more affordable slate a slight edge on a single core performance. With the addition of the new Silicon, the iPad Pro should sit comfortably atop Apple's lineup once more. Apple found other ways to make the iPad Pro feel more professional as well, and in a nod to its most demanding users, the new iPad Pro USB-C port doubles as a Thunderbolt port with USB 4.0 support. This might be the first time I've seen USB 4.0 actually available in the wild. That's pretty crazy that they're able to do this. So USB 4, and you can definitely see that there. Apple says that with these improvements in place, the bandwidth for the wired support should peak around 40 gigabits per second, and that people will be able to use high-performance accessories like super fast external storage, high-resolution displays, and of course, 6K resolution. Because, you may not be asking for it, but Apple's going to give it to you anyways. Now, all that being said, they also mentioned that the latest iPad Pros will also be 5G compatible. And the only difference between these, and by the way, the prices here get ridiculous, but they will essentially take the place of a laptop to an extent. A 13-inch display is still pretty small. Now, as far as internal storage goes, and this is not really going to be something that a lot of people need to spring for, because that's really the main differentiator between these different categories for these iPads. But here we go. The base model 11-inch iPad Pro with with Wi-Fi, 128 gigs. So this is no option for cell or anything like that. It starts at about $800. And then you go all the way up to the top end, same model. The only difference is the larger storage space instead of 128, which, by the way, 128 is pitiful. I can't believe that Apple still even has that on their line. But I guess to keep the price low, they need something to entice people. Still, 2 terabytes of storage, you're looking at about $1,900 with, again, the storage being really the only difference. And then the top end of their model, you can see that down here on this price chart. The 13-inch, 12.9-inch iPad Pro with Wi-Fi and cellular, so you can get the 5G capabilities and things like that. You're looking at a whopping, just such a huge price increase, $2,400 for a tablet. It is, again, I don't know if that's reasonable, but man, it sure doesn't sound like it. Now, Apple's no stranger to hyperbole, but it isn't kidding when it calls these the most powerful and advanced iPad ever. We'll have to spend some time with them. Obviously, that's Engadget. Both models will go for pre-order in about a week and a half and should start hitting doorsteps the second half of May. The pricing, though, is crazy. I hope that the performance matches up. The iPad Pro, again, meant for professionals, they're still some of the sleekest on the market, and you're still paying a premium for them. I think that's my only, kind of comment about that whole thing. So, still, they updated it, added the M1 chips, and I really do look forward to the benchmarks when they finally get released. So we'll do one more, then new product, and then we'll start wrapping up the Apple stuff. But our next Apple story, because again, the first part of the show is going to be all about Apple, is the new Apple TV 4K gets a revamped remote and A12 Bionic chip. So a little bit smarter, a little bit faster, and finally a refresh to what has always felt like kind of a forgotten stepchild. Apple announced a refresh for the Apple TV 4K streaming box, its first since 2017. New to this model is the company's A12 Bionic chip. Apple says that the updated silicon allows the Apple TV to play HDR video with Dolby Vision at higher frame rates. Pretty good. As well as decode video faster, the chip is also powerful enough to allow you to stream 60 FPS Dolby Vision you shot on your iPhone 12 Pro over AirPlay. So trying to get some interplay there, which Apple is traditionally not really cared if things worked with each other without adapters, cables, and other setup. But hey, that's pretty good. But if you've owned a previous model, what's more exciting is the latest Apple TV 4K is that it will come with a redesigned Siri Remote. Made from aluminum, it features a new ergonomic design and additional buttons. So looking at the buttons here, you have mute, pause, play, go back, full screen, and then of course your volume up and down arrow with a new, probably touch-sensitive thumb control. They mentioned that to start, there's one that allows you to turn the TV on and off. So that's actually what that is. TV on and off. What's more, there's a new click pad that can double as a jog wheel, allowing you to easily jump ahead to a specific point in a movie or TV show. Apple has also repositioned the Siri button to the side of the remote, and the controller is compatible with previous generations of Apple TV 4K and Apple TV HD. So there you go. You can buy just the remote for $60, which is still expensive, but I digress. The pricing, Apple TV 4K will have two different models, 32 gig model or 64 gig model, and each of those will be about $180 to $200. Apple will continue to sell the Apple TV HD for $150, but will come with the updated Siri remotes. So Apple TV getting a little bit of a refresh, still expensive, and yeah, still kind of, what's Apple doing with Apple TV? It's still kind of up in the air. But at least it got a refresh. Okay, so with that being said, we can talk about this one real quick, kind of muddied in with all the Apple stuff. There was an update to podcast. If you don't recall, Apple actually kind of started podcasting. That's, that was iTunes' kind of claim to fame, and they still do it the best. So what they've changed is that the company is now redesigning the podcast app with channels and a smart play button. So they now have subscription offering. The company is adding a paid subscription to its podcast app, so podcasters can charge listeners for content directly. The new feature will be added to podcasts in May and be available in 170 regions and countries. I gotta say, Computer America, we want as many people to listen as possible. So the idea of putting these things behind a paywall seems crazy. But I could see other podcasters who have their regular podcast, kind of saying that these are special episodes, they're exclusives, they do that or something or the other. I don't know. Obviously, another way for podcasters to support themselves, it's great, but I don't see that feature being used that much. I don't know. Obviously, this would probably be a response to Spotify, who has a similar service. Now, each podcast creator will be able to set their own prices as well as what's included with the subscription. Paid subscribers may get ad-free shows, exclusive bonus content, or early access to new episodes. Podcast creators can also offer free trials and sample episodes to lure in new subscribers. Yep, there you go. In addition to subscriptions, Apple will roll out a redesigned podcasting app that will have channel feature, which will recommend groups of shows curated by creators with unique titles, descriptions, and artwork. Some channels will be free and others will be paid. Apple says channels will make it easier for listeners to discover new shows and allow podcasts to offer additional perks to subscribers. With that being said, Apple, the updated app also has improved features such as search and a new landing page for shows and episodes. Apple has also made it easier for listeners to jump into new shows with a smart play button. So the Apple's move into paid podcasting comes as competition lines up in the space. We mentioned Spotify. Longtime Beats One DJ Zane Lowe has hosted a series of interviews with artists since 2019. Earlier this month, the company launched a companion app to promote its Apple TV Plus true crime documentary, The Line. So, let's see. All that being said, along with subscriptions, Apple is also offering a new service for podcast creators with a $20 a year Apple Podcasters program. The program will give podcasters access to analytics, episode management tools, and other features to help creators manage their shows. So, there you go. Apple biting at both ends of the apple. Let's see. So, of course, as with the App Store, Apple's going to take their 30% cut, a 15% cut for each year after, in addition to the $20 annual fee. Apple's commission has also been a source of controversy, but I digress. So Apple increasing their podcasting footprint and trying to make it a little bit more profitable because they are the biggest. So the question is, can they be the most profitable? And so far, it looks like Spotify is definitely doing that for them. With that being said, refresh service, refresh hardware, how about some brand new hardware? And that is what you get with Apple's AirTag. And yeah, if you are familiar with Tile, you know what I'm going to say. Apple unveiled the long-awaited AirTags at its spring-loaded virtual event today. And of course, they introduced them as accessories to join the company's Find My service. The fobs can be customized with engravings of characters, letters, and emojis. And a Hermes edition will also be available, with regular versions costing $29, and a 4-pack will be about $100. So you can customize them, make them a little cuter, but let's face it, they are essentially Bluetooth tracking chips. You'll find, you will use the Find My app to locate the AirTags in any Apple phone. With a U1 chip like the iPhone 11 and 12 series, can give you AR overlays to direct you to your lost items. So it can actually identify them in 3D, like in real time, which is pretty cool. The company is calling the feature precision finding and uses a combination of camera, accelerometer, gyroscope, ARKit data along with ultra-wideband technology to locate your stuff more accurately. So if you hold your phone with your camera up, you can see it through your camera, through walls, through floors, and hopefully it will direct you directly to whatever you would slap an AirTag onto. You can imagine that you could put these things on suitcase luggage, you could put them on pets, you could put them on, in cars, things like that. And then, of course, as you get closer to them, you can get more precise until you finally find it. Now, they mentioned that those who aren't using iPhone 11 or 12 will still be able to use the AirTags via Bluetooth LE, just without the precision finding tool. When your belongings are far away, Apple says that you will use the Find My network, which is approaching 1 billion devices, to locate it. This is much like a different service that we had on the show a little while ago, and essentially anyone within Bluetooth distance of these tags, even if you are not, it will send a ping to your phone saying that this is your device, I found it with my device, here is your device. Pretty simple. If you're carrying your fobs on your person while you travel, Apple wants to reassure you that no location data or history is physically stored inside the device. And when you use the Find My network to hunt down your missing item, Apple says that communication is end-to-end encrypted so that only you have access to the location data. Essentially, Apple trying to assuage people that, yeah, they're tracking devices, but they won't be the ones to track you. You will be the only one to track your devices. Now, with that being said, Apple's system does seem to be more sophisticated, using rotating Bluetooth signal identifiers to prevent unwanted location tracking, as well as detection of unknown AirTags have been traveling with you from place to from place to place over time. So essentially, if it can kind of say that this is an AirTag, and we see it, but we don't know whose it is, you haven't registered it and you haven't paired it, then it'll say that there's one right next to you. You should check this out just in case you're being stalked or something like that. So, AirTags are rated IP67 for water and dust, so they can get a little bit dirty. They cannot be submerged in more than 3 meters of water, but in general should be generally weatherproof. There's built-in speakers so that the tag can ring to let you know where it is, and you can of course ask the digital assistant to find it as well, and it will speak through the device, although the device itself is not a Siri device. For $29, honestly, I thought they'd be more. They're pretty affordable. They could be cheaper, but it's Apple. What are you gonna do? There you go. And again, I think the pairing with the whole Apple ecosystem behind tracking your devices is something of note. So the last thing, and then we'll wrap up our whole Apple, wrap-up, iOS 14.5. Here we go. Yep, iOS 14.5 will roll out next week, and this is probably one of the last announcements. 7 months after iOS 14 was released, Apple has unveiled iOS 14.5, and it should roll out in about a week. At its iPad event, the company declined to offer a specific date, but its press material said that the new software would arrive next week. Despite being a 0.5 release, which, as far as software goes, like 14 to 15, big UI changes, that's when they have a lot of big updates. 14 to 14.5, you're looking at more, things work a little bit better, minor UI tweaks, maybe some new elements, some new features, but overall, not a lot of newness to it. But this one, they're saying that this is a significant software update that adds a number of features for all iOS device users. So with that being said, the iOS 14.5 will offer users a way of unlocking their phone while wearing a face mask. It was in February that we saw reports saying that the feature, once activated, would unlock the device if the user was also wearing an Apple Watch. And at the same time, we learned that the update adds support for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X controllers. That's actually really big and really cool that you're able to use the latest gen console controllers to play video games on your phone. I actually enjoy that a lot. But most of the interest will be the implementation of Apple's new privacy features, and they mentioned that so many companies have had to throw their toys far from their prams while they complain about this. This is things like Apple has been accessing, or not Apple, Facebook has been accessing your location for the longest time. Would you like them to do that? Or so and so has access to your microphone and camera. Would you like them to have access to that? 14.5 is essentially the Tattletail update, and it will tell users when companies are using different tracking features of the operating system. The company said that it would add a card asking users with their consent to being tracked using identification for advertisers. This is, broadly speaking, a way for companies like Facebook to track individuals and what they were doing online. Now, with all that being said, one thing that has been reported across the internet is the belief that iOS 14.5 will allow you to select a default audio platform that is not Apple Music. Given the volume of people using Spotify and other services, that seems like a good way for Apple to rebut criticism that it preferences its own products over others. Unfortunately, the company responded saying that while Siri can remember what music service that you use, you can't set a third-party app as your default, which, by the way, got Microsoft into a lot of trouble with the European Union when they said that you can only use Bing or Edge browsers. So, but hey, Apple is Apple. Apple also pledged as part of this update to remove a filter that caught searches for Asian and flagged them as adult content. Within child-safe mode, this has been an issue since late 2019 and has gone unresolved since the beta in March. pretty crazy that it took them so long to uncensor the word Asian. Okay, there you have it. So overall, that's Apple. Kind of what we expected. Their products, as always, design-wise, I mean, Apple is Apple. And if you like Apple, it looks amazing. If you don't like Apple, more of the same. The software updates are nice to see. The refreshes to some of their more underserved lineups is good to see that they're, kind of paying attention, I guess. Services like podcasts and the 4K TV and things like that. The iPad Pro is ridiculously expensive. Overall, though, kind of what we expected. And yeah, not bad for a mobile update. The phones obviously get the most attention. I would say that the iMac Pros and some of the other computers get a little bit more attention, but this wasn't bad. This wasn't bad at all, and definitely deserving of the fanfare that they gave it. So, all that being said, let's go ahead and continue on to other things that are not Apple. And this one kind of hit home for myself, and I'm sure a lot of people out there. Our first story is going to be a transition. A transition that, a transition from Jeff Kaplan, who has been with Blizzard for about 20 years. He had about a 19-year tenure. It was pretty amazing that he worked on the original Warcraft 3. He worked on Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, which were some of the high points for World of Warcraft. And then after World of Warcraft, he started to, he started to work on Project Titan, and of course Project Titan evolved into Overwatch, and Overwatch was kind of Jeff Kaplan's main focus for like the last, probably about 10 years of his tenure. He spent a long time, and he was, of course, a very public face of Overwatch, giving constant updates, kind of little speeches and things like that. And to see him leave so abruptly, I mean, a lot of Blizzard's old guard have been leaving Blizzard. And this one certainly has been, around for quite a while. So again, Jeff Kaplan been around for 19 years, and then of course with Overwatch 10 years. I don't want to jump into everyone's assumptions and say that Jeff Kaplan leaving is a sign of the end times. It's definitely a transition. He was very vocal. He was a big face for the company, but at the same time, if you want things to change and you want new blood in there, then the old guard has to, kind of step back. Although I will say Jeff Kaplan, no one ever really pinned him as a problem or a pain point with Overwatch development. So it's kind of sad to see him leave at the same time. In a short letter posted by Kaplan, it says, "It was truly an honor of a lifetime to create worlds and heroes for such a passionate audience. I want to express my deep appreciation for everyone at Blizzard who supported our games, our teams, and our players." But he said that he wants to say a special thanks to the wonderful game developers that shared in the journey of creation with him. That's after 19 years with Blizzard. Obviously, Overwatch is in a strange place, with Overwatch 2 expected later in the year, or later next year. And they also mentioned that Aaron Keller, described as a founding member of the Overwatch team and an 18-year Blizzard veteran, will be taking Jeff Kaplan's role. In a statement, Aaron Keller wrote about Jeff, "He's been a great leader, mentor, friend, and he knows how much we're going to miss him. He's been lucky to work alongside him and the rest of the Overwatch team for many years, building something that continues to inspire people all over the world." He added that development is continuing at a good pace on Overwatch 2, and will be sharing more frequent updates about Overwatch 2 progress and new features in the live game with you all very soon. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, Jeff Kaplan leaving, a lot of people are going to read into it and say that, hey, Jeff is not happy with how things are going, therefore there's something wrong. It's all Activision's fault. Activision is ruining Blizzard, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, and just like Fort said in the chat, 19 years is a long time with a singular company, and 10 years is a long time with a singular game. passions change. And I'm sure that for someone who is creative, has been directing design on this game for so long, it must be, at some point, you have to look at yourself and say, it's been 10 years. I want to try other things. I want to do other things. I'm so far invested, so deeply invested that I can't change what I have here. And you know what? It's time for something different. And I don't think after all the time that he spent, anyone can fault Jeff Kaplan for doing that. They're going to speculate about the timing, but no one can fault the reasoning behind it. If it does turn out that he just wants to focus on his personal life, on his private life, if he wants to try designing other games, who knows? Hey, completely his choice, but it was abrupt. I don't think anyone was really seeing this coming. And again, one last time, he was the face of Overwatch. His face was the one that gave constant updates. He was very vocal and very back and forth with the community. And I think that's what's going to really resonate with people, is that they're losing essentially the front man for Overwatch. Okay, so Jeff Kaplan out. Moving on to other things, our next story that we have here after all the Apple stuff in Overwatch, let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of an update. And I said some stuff on the show yesterday that I should have picked up on earlier, and I apologize for not doing it myself. I knew for a fact that Tesla has weight sensors in their seats so that they know, and because I remember talking about this a little while ago, that they could actually change the settings, such as like where the steering wheel is positioned, where the seat is positioned, not just by voice, but also by weight. If yesterday you were sitting in the car and then your wife gets in, or, vice versa, the settings would kind of automatically change. So one of the ways that you have to one of the ways that you have to activate Autopilot is that you have to have someone physically sitting in the seat. And now we have this big hubbub about what actually happened with the Tesla that was on fire yesterday or the day before. Because they claim that no one was in the driver's seat, there was a passenger in the car, and there was a gentleman in the back of the car, but no one in the driver's seat. And then they claim that the Autopilot was somehow responsible for the crash. The question becomes, and Elon Musk is fighting back against the speculation about what actually caused this, and he does not want Tesla's Autopilot to be the reason why this crashed. He said that data logs recovered so far show Autopilot was not enabled. So they did get the little black box back from the burned up Tesla. The vehicle was totaled, so it's not clear if the crash data on the vehicle survived, but Tesla vehicles are equipped with cell connections, and the 2019 Model S may have transmitted key data wirelessly to Tesla servers in the seconds after the crash. They said that in the same tweet. Musk also said that the owner of the vehicle did not purchase FSD, which is full self-driving mode. And they said that the current beta version of FSD still required active supervision, however. So there you go. Musk also added that the standard Autopilot would require lane lines to turn on, which the street did not. And let me read this comment here from chat real quick. There was someone in the back seat, but not in the driver's seat. That's hardly Tesla's fault. So here's again, and of course everyone out there who's a little confused on this, there was a passenger in the front, there was a rider in the back, but there was no driver in the drive seat. And the problem is that the news, myself included, we all reported, that was the situation, and they assumed that the Autopilot was enabled because, hey, if there's no driver, how is this thing going down the road, and how did it slam into a tree, and how did it, kind of burst into flames? And Elon Musk is essentially saying Autopilot was not enabled. The person who owned the vehicle did not purchase the full self-driving mode, so it could not have been activated even more so. And then even on top of that, if he somehow had a way to enable the standard autopilot, so not full driving, but standard autopilot, it's essentially lane keep. So it will stay inside a lane. And if the car could not identify road lines, which apparently this road that they were on did not have lines on the road, then it would not have enabled altogether. So obviously, one Tesla owner posted a video on Sunday showing that he was able to activate autopilot on a small road with no obvious lane lines. As the car approached a sharp curve, it did not appear to turn the wheel or slow down before the driver intervened. So maybe they were driving on a road that did have lines, and then this one simply, the autopilot did not disengage when it's pulled onto a road without lines. So Musk tweet obviously saying that, arguing that the autopilot could not have been active because there was no one in the driver's seat, and supposedly Tesla vehicles disable autopilot if the seat's weight sensor does not detect an adult's weight, so kids can't activate it, for instance. Local officials have said that no one was in the driver's seat at the time of the crash, and according to police, one man was in the front passenger and the other in the back. But Tesla critics have also disputed this claim. One video from September showed a man enabling autopilot in a parking lot, then climbing out through the window. He reached in with a camera tripod and pushed the accelerator on the vehicle to cross the parking lot at 1 mile per hour. And let's see, sounds like maybe someone wasn't telling the whole truth, and childhood obesity is a problem. But we can, of course, say things like, so far what it sounds like is they had basic autopilot, and maybe they were doing something stupid. Maybe. We don't know anything yet. We're going to have to wait for more camera, more crash footage or something like that. Maybe there was someone sitting in the driver's seat. They activated self-driving mode, and then they were goofing off, showing off. One of them either got out of the driver's seat and climbed into the back, leaving no one in the driver's seat, or they climbed into the passenger seat after activating self-driving mode, trying to show off the novelty of this whole thing. And obviously you need constant attention on the wheel. You have to, kind of press on the wheel to show that someone is able to take control at certain intervals. Clearly, I feel like the firefighters who reported to the scene and rescued the people and said that, there was no one in the driver's seat, I fully believe that is the case. For Elon Musk to say that, this could not have happened, I feel like is a little premature at this point. I'm really believing that someone activated self-driving mode, climbed out of the driver's seat and either into the back or into the passenger, and then it crashed due to, kind of faulty autopilot. But at the same time, Tesla has never claimed that autopilot is full-blown self-driving, and even their self-driving needs constant attention. So this was stupid on their part, but also this was at the fault of Tesla to a lesser extent. Someone from Reuters, a reporter from Reuters, mentioned that if he is tweeting that out, if he has already pulled the data, he hasn't told us that. We will eagerly wait for that data. They mentioned that the crash is also under investigation by two federal agencies, the National Transportation Safety Board and, of course, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration are both interested. I don't know. I think that's what happened. I can't wait for the full story. For Musk to claim things that there is already video of, such as, being able to activate autopilot on roads that don't have lines, or, being able to activate autopilot and then be able to climb out through the window with autopilot still enabled. That's already proved that both of those can change. So what really happened? I have no idea. I definitely agree. It could be someone showing off, being like, hey, I'm going to turn on autopilot, climb in the back, and it's going to be awesome. And then it was not awesome. It was not awesome at all. So there you go. That's that whole story. And again, I wanted that update because now we have Elon Musk trying to respond and rebut this idea that it was Autopilot's fault. At the end of the day, I would still put the blame. If what is in my head actually happened, I would still put the blame on the individuals who own the car and were operating the car. But hey, Autopilot is a tool, and if they whack themselves in the head with that tool, we don't need to say that, it wasn't Autopilot's fault. Yeah, it still was, but still Autopilot never claimed to be full self-driving. So there you go. Let's go ahead and talk about lots of different ones that we can discuss here. Okay. How about Microsoft? And something that, Apple has done very effectively, but Microsoft just can't seem to do themselves. And that is the idea of an app store. And right now, Microsoft kind of works with everything. You go out anywhere you want, pull down, an installation file, and you install. Microsoft has had a Windows store for quite a while now, but I have yet to meet one person that said, "Oh, I was browsing through the Windows store and I found this." Just doesn't happen. Well, looks like Microsoft is reportedly working on a new update to the Windows Store that will be open to all games and all apps. So here's the thing, that exclusivity is kind of what drives companies to make these stores, be it the Origin launcher, from EA, be it the Steam launcher for video games, be it, the Blizzard launcher. Whenever you have these ecosystems, you get a cut, you get to sell exclusive applications and things like that. I mean, why is Microsoft doing this? I think they want to bring more applications in store so they can charge commission. So here we go. They said that the software maker plans to release an updated store later this year that will be far more open to all types of apps and games, saying that this could pave the way for developers to be able to submit any Windows application to the store, including browsers like Chrome or Firefox, and even allow third-party commerce platforms in apps. Saying that that's a big shift. Currently, the Windows Store requires developers to package their Win32 apps as an MSIX and use Microsoft's own update mechanism and commerce platform. Microsoft will reportedly allow developers to submit standard EXE or MSI packages to the store, and updates can be managed through developers' own content delivery network. So that's pretty good. Was to move a computer from S mode, right? There hasn't really been a lot of need for Microsoft Store because the way that we kind of have it up now seems to be working pretty good. But I am liking the idea that, it's not totally through Microsoft, but Microsoft facilitates the platform and everyone else controls everything else about their service. And I think that could be a really good change for computers, to get a little more app-like instead of just more application-like. They said that such change would open the Windows Store to many more apps, including popular ones like the Creative Cloud suite of product apps and even rivals like Chrome and Firefox. They said that Microsoft launched its own Windows Package Manager last year that quickly became a great option for hundreds of apps that are missing from the store right now. Apps like Steam, WinRAR, and Zoom don't exist on the Windows Store right now, but they're available through the Windows Package Manager. So it's something. It sounds like whatever overhaul Microsoft is working on here will likely incorporate the company's work with Windows Package Manager to verify apps and list them in the store. Microsoft's current use of a number of methods to validate app packages for Windows Package Manager includes smart screen technology, static analysis, and SHA-256 validation. They said that obviously this, and some of the comments here are, I think, pretty dead on. This could actually give Steam a run for their money if implemented right and fees are reduced. And I think that's going to be the big one. What are the fees? How much is Apple going to take? And allowing third-party payments means that, hey, if you get this store and it has everything in it, even if it doesn't kind of directly benefit Windows, I think getting people in the ecosystem is probably a better move than getting them, I guess, kind of paying Windows in the first place. Microsoft is said to be planning to bring many of its own apps to its new Windows App Store, including Teams, Office, Edge, and Visual Studio. The new store is rumored to be part of Microsoft's big Sun Valley overhaul that will appear later this year, and they have previously described this as a sweeping visual rejuvenation of Windows that should see an overhaul for the Start menu, File Explorer, and built-in apps. Everyone, this affects you because if you use Windows 10, you will have no choice but to go through this. So we're going to go through it together. It's going to be okay. We'll all get through this. And hey, we may even be better off on the back end. So with that being said, again, it still depends on the fine details and mainly, let's face it, money, but this could definitely be a very good thing for users out there. Okay, probably for our last story, we could do a little bit of an update. Anyone out there that uses Discord, speaking of Microsoft, Discord will not sell itself to Microsoft or anyone else for that matter. And this was, and this was the rumor that I heard when I had first heard about this, was that Discord was in talks with Microsoft, and the general feeling was that they were 20% going to sell to Microsoft, or 80%, if you had to put a percentage on it, 80% more likely that they were going to stay individual and list themselves as a private company, or I should say a public company. And it seems like Discord is no longer interested in selling itself to another company. But it seems like the $10 billion deal that Discord had going, that they were in discussions with, did not pan out. The chat service was reportedly in discussion with other companies, but that appears to have ended all acquisition talks, at least for now. And Discord will remain an independent company for the time being, as it's seemingly doing well. Although I got to say that I'm not super business savvy, but waiting until your company is going under and then selling, if you want the best price, I mean, who knows? Like other services centered around communication, Discord's popularity surged amid the COVID-19 pandemic, and many new users turned to the app to stay in touch with friends and family over text, voice, and video calls. I gotta say that Discord, it's popular, but it could be a lot more. I think it's still trying to shake this feeling that it is almost exclusively for people who play video games and gamers and people like that. Honestly, I think that Discord is one of the most usable and intuitive community and discussion platforms on the market. For all the different channels, rooms, kind of the way that they have everything kind of sorted and displayed and let people essentially control their own little slice of Discord. Discord is something really unique, and I think does it very, very well. I think that Microsoft getting their hands on it would have ruined a lot of that, because obviously Microsoft would be more interested in folding that into, I'm sure, their Teams, into their Skype platform, folding it all into their other services. If Microsoft could have gotten Discord, and if Microsoft could have become more Discordian and less Microsoft, that would have been a good thing. That would have been an amazing thing for Microsoft. But I feel like the company would not have allowed that. And for Discord, this is probably the right move, for now at least. So they have about 140 million monthly users as of March, and the company is said to have generated revenue of about 130 million last year, a significant increase of about 45 million during 2019. However, Discord is not yet profitable, which, hey, as a tech startup, it takes a while. But I will say they have the community, they have the building blocks of what makes a company profitable, and right now is probably not the right time to sell. And yeah, I'm very much a fan. I love Discord. So I'm glad that they did not sell. So some of the other stories that we're not going to be able to get to because the music is going to start here in just a second. But we have everything from HTC Vive. They have accidentally leaked their new wireless headset, which you can see images here. There was, unfortunately, an award ceremony that had not actually happened yet, if you're wondering how these things go. An award ceremony, and yep, you can see it right here. It had actually... I just cookies, confirm. There we go. Nothing required. Anyways, this HTC Vive headset had actually not been released. So, whoops. But hey, it already won the product award. So there you go. There's that article. Hackers are really jumping on the Pulse secure vulnerabilities, and Facebook wants to normalize the mass scraping of data. But hey, haven't they always? So with that being said, that's all the time we have here for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Catch us every weekday, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.